what we have to first do is look at what is currently in place. So community control of the police is different from what Koval says is community policing. All right, we got to understand that difference first. Community policing means that the power of police is still in the hands of the state. It is out of our hands. Community control over the police means that the power is shifted into our hands, into our communities. We get to decide what that looks like. Within black communities, what we do know historically is that police have been an occupying force. This is historical fact. The first police forces in the South came from slave catchers. In the North, they were in response to the quote-unquote race riots of white individuals going into black neighborhoods and burning and looting. So these police forces were there to keep quote-unquote order, but more importantly to keep black people in their place where they were in their neighborhoods and stop encroaching on white communities. And they are still here to keep order, but it's an order that has no justice, an order that has no humanity. Now what we are facing is a more and more militarized police force that has been militarized within the black community for a long time. The first SWAT teams were formed to target the Black Panthers in California. The militarization of the police has begun in the black community, is now encroaching on other aspects of all our lives. What we also have to understand is the core problem is more than just racism. Because police as an institution, the institution itself is a white supremacist institution. So you can get rid of racist officers, but you will not see a change of the disproportionate impact that the police have in our black communities because the institution in and of itself is a racist institution. So what we need to do, the core problem is not racism but power. Who has the power? So what we are talking about is a shift in power from those of the Police and Fire Commission here in Madison into each individual community. Randy, can you take some? All right, take the bottom. So what we need to understand also is our principles and objectives, which would be community control over the police, self-determination, which is a human right, movement led by those most impacted, so low income, black, women, and queer individuals, and then positive action centered. Our demands from this will be prosecuting killer cops, a dual-track investigation of the individual killing and the persistent racial disparities, whether it's here in Madison or in Dane County or in this entire country. We want UN peacekeepers to collect black community members and protesters, and community control of the police again. So what? Man, it's difficult with the bullhorn. All right. So community control. You got what? All right. I got this right now. Yeah. Community control. What's that? Yeah.
We need the bullhorn.
So what this would be is a complete, not a civilian review board, because civilian review boards can just work within existing structures. They cannot change the investigation, they cannot change what's happening. They are just as accountable to objective reasonableness, which is not objective or reasonable, which is the standard that our police here in Madison now have set when it comes to killing individuals, that Koval is refusing to budge on. So we got to take again the power away. So this will be dividing our community into districts, much like we do have as far as we're voting, except the difference is people, this board, this civilian committee, is not elected. And that is key, because again, that keeps the power in our communities. So we need to divide up the community into districts, and not just by precincts, because as we know within Madison, our black communities are already separated and already don't have power over any of the districts that they are in. So civilian police control board comprises the civilian residents of the district. Each district will maintain control over its police alone or in conjunction with other districts. So this includes priorities, policies, and enforcing practices. This will includes hiring and firing, Again, this is not a review or oversight board. This means that we get to decide who is a police officer, if they can continue being a police officer, if what their training looks like, how many police officers are in the community. Again, police in black communities are an occupying force. They don't act the same as they are in white communities. You're not going to have a party at a park on the west side, near West Side, wherever, near Whitney Way, and have police on mounted horses, not have squad cars go by every 20 minutes making sure anything's going wrong. The police in black communities are not here to protect us. They are here to make sure that we are not acting out of order. That is a very key difference. They are not there to respond for our assistance. They are to make sure that we are in place. Not if something happens to us that we can call upon them to help us. They are there, again, to make sure that we are in place. So this will decide what the policing looks like. Do we want them in our parks? No, we don't want them in our parks. Do we want them carrying guns in our communities? That's what we'll get to decide. Who gets to carry what? How many get to carry guns, if they carry guns, if they carry tasers, what the tactics look like within each community. We can take over existing or create new departments based upon each community, so we can decide that the police department, where Madison Prep was supposed to be, is going to be no longer built. Existing budget shift again to this board, so we will get to decide how the money is spent. Whether it be spent on adding more bulletproof vests to again increase the militarization of our police, or will it be spent to actually build communities, build relations, and make sure that we work with one another within our own communities. That the police again are there to serve the community, not to oversee the community. This will be a rotating board. Residents will be randomly selected for board service based upon residency. So to serve on the board, you have to live within those communities. This would look 1 to 6 month term, rotating. Everybody would have a chance to serve. So again, we keep the money out of it, we keep the election out of it, so those in those communities can continue to serve and protect their own communities. Again, this will go through outreach, through education. We would have a say in what it looks like. Community control over the police, again, is not community policing. Community policing is police officers that are patrolling the neighborhoods throughout every single day, serving as an occupying force. Community control over the police means we get to decide what police in our communities look like. That's community control.